Hello, everybody. It's September the 19th, 2025, coming to you live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is episode number 67 with a real legend. And I mean it, a real legend from Dallas SWAT, a friend of mine, somebody that I look up to, a real sensei, an OG in the world of crisis negotiating. And he's been a cop forever, a long time. And you'll see how special of a guest that this guy is. And it's J.D.Byas from Dallas, and somebody that you may have actually seen on A&E back in the day when he was on Dallas SWAT. And that was the television show that basically was aired a few years back. And that's where I first saw him. And I've actually been to a couple of different places where he has spoke. And I spoke in Missouri when he was speaking there. And that's where I first actually saw him in person and had the opportunity to meet him there. And I know that he and I have had some drinks together in Orlando, Florida. And so I think I've been elsewhere in another place or two where he's been seen. And so it's always a pleasure to see him. And, you know, I message him periodically, not very often, but every now and then, if I want to say something to him, I do that. And he's gracious enough to usually respond. And he's a busy guy. He's a really busy guy. I wanted to mention one thing. Remember, hey, I always say like and subscribe. Guess what? Right before we got on here, I hit the 2001 subscribers to my YouTube page. So thank you to those that have went out there and checked that out. I really appreciate that. I want to say hello to our faithful following. I see my cousins in the house. Danny's here, Sarah. I saw Heather's in the house, Steph, etc. All of our faithful viewers. I can't do this without you, nor would I do it if I was in here to do this by myself. I'm not going to do that. I want to do something to where you feel like you're getting something in return. And this guest is definitely, he fits the bill. I think we've just had out of the 67 episodes, I really don't like any of them. I think they're all awesome. And I just want to make another mention too, because I'm still getting messages over the Sheriff Buford Pusser thing. And yeah, I'll tell you what, I want to remind people that the few naysayers, I almost had to block somebody, but I've kept them on. I actually responded. But for the most part, the vast majority of the people, based on the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations their case, most people have seen the writing on the wall. You got to remember, of the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee, you got Davy Crockett and Buford Pusser. TBI is not going to etch him off of the mountain unless there's a really good reason, okay? So just be patient, and when they publicize all of this data, then you will see for yourself. I think there's plenty of evidence out there actually already, but I want to see the rest of it. So nevertheless, I don't want to waste this any more time here. It's good to be here. Remember, like and subscribe. I love it. It's great to see that people are actually enjoying the show and leave comments. I love reading them. Senior Corporal. He's a senior corporal. J.D.Byas is an officer with the Dallas Police Department, providing over 40 years of service. 40 years. You just don't see that anymore, hardly ever. And he's not even number one in seniority there. In 1993, he transferred to SWAT from patrol. We're going to talk about a little moment in time before those, or in between those two, which actually was mounted patrol, which I think is kind of cool. By the year 2000, he was convinced to study hostage/crisis negotiations. He has completed 700 hours of training with the Suicide Crisis Center. His 31 years of SWAT experience covers over 800 barricaded individuals and suicidal callouts, not including executing more than 1,000 high-risk search warrants. Presently, he is assigned to the Tactical Equipment Support Services. His duties include administrative, procurement, and providing training and support for new negotiators. During SWAT operations, the test squad is responsible for driving SWAT personnel to the location and maintaining hard cover for all involved. At times, may include removal of windows, cages, and doors, using the armored vehicle as push or pull tool. And Byas is a national speaker in the world of crisis negotiating. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, He's very modest. He actually, he was freaking out a little bit when he goes, "Is this thing live?" And I said, "Yeah, JD, it's live. You're going to be just great. Don't worry about it, buddy." He's like one of the master communicators in the world of crisis negotiating. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's likely one of the top most well-known crisis negotiators. I'm even willing to say top 5. And he's going to go, "Oh yeah, probably not." Yeah, he's been everywhere. Everybody knows him. And let's welcome J.D.Byas to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Very good. Thank you. Quite an entrance. I love it.
All of it is earned, and you know it.
Well, thank you very much.
And I didn't say this. He's kind of a Disney super fan, which I don't know that we'll have time to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we'll talk about it maybe at the end if we have time. Listen,
Yes,
JD, let's talk about your life, starting out life, because I'm sure that you didn't want to be a crisis negotiator from the beginning. But let's talk about your life, where you grew up, and how you ended up on the Dallas Police Department.
Well, to make it short, I was actually born in Texas, and I was raised up in Ohio, and then got word that Dallas was hiring, so came down, tried out, and surprisingly, I made it, and it started from there. So it was, doing everything I need to do to make sure. I have to give kudos to my dad, believe it or not. For the audience here, generally as a rule of thumb, I'm an open book. Something I give, what's the word I want to? I'm an emotional guy, so I will tell you that up front. I'm an emotional guy. I don't know why. That's just the way I was made. But I do remember that I was having trouble with a couple of things as far as medical wise. They were about to disqualify me because I had asthma, and I am here in Texas, and Dad's up in Ohio, and he makes a call to the doctor, my doctor, and poof, the next day they say, "Yeah, you're in. Received a letter from your doctor," and yeah, he says, "You're good to go." And I went like, "Way to go, Dad." So yeah, there you go. So that's how I ended up here.
And welcome to the heat of Texas.
Yes. Yes. I was telling somebody that when I was coming in, now you got to realize I grew up going back and forth to Texas and Ohio, even to this day, I still do it. But as I was coming in, it was early in the morning, maybe around 7 o'clock or so. I remember going in and I saw this temperature gauge up on the sign by the old Cowboy Stadium. And it said something like 104 as an example. And I went like, "Yeah, I'm back."
Yeah, with the uniforms you guys have down there are almost entirely black,
Yeah.
They look black, yeah. So you end up getting onto the police department, you go through the academy. What was that experience like for you?
It was eye-opening. I think as far as a structure, for me, it was like I just joined the Army. I know what's the word? Paramilitary.
Paramilitary, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, I would say that what was kind of interesting was that, it was a wake-up call. I need to be on time, and you do this. You're in the big boys game, right? You're in a big job now, so you can't mess around. So that was interesting. But I'm very, very fortunate because I think at that time I spent like maybe 18 weeks or so. Nowadays, these kids are at like 35, 36 months. And I'm like, oh, I skated it. I skated it. It's crazy.
I know it is. It is. And you probably got a lot of OJT for sure. And you probably had some really good. So just to give people perspective here, you got on the police department in 1985.
Yes.
Think about where you were at in 1985. I know I was in 10th grade in high school, maybe my 9th grade year, seriously. And then by the time you got on the SWAT team was 1993. But so you hit the streets, and one of the things what was that like, just hitting the streets? And once you finally, where did you go in Dallas? Was it Northwest?
Yes, I went to Northwest. That's where I started. So the city's divided up into 7 sections, and I was in the Northwest section of the city, if you were to look on a map. So the craziest thing about that was that that was you well, that was, to me, was a great place to learn, because you had your expensive houses, like Jerry Jones style houses, all the way down to total poverty. So
Yeah.
your call could actually be answering a call where they tell you you need to park your squad car in the back of the house, because we don't want anybody to see that you're here, and the servants' quarters in the back. To you go to a Section 8 housing, and literally, if I can just add this, because it always brings up a memory to me, that I went to, they're duplexes most of the time, like apartment style townhouses.
Yeah.
And I knocked on this one door, and there was an issue where it was a very violent fight between the 2 individuals that were inside the house, and the living room was just, if I use the right word, disarray. Is that the right word? It was just like total messed up. I mean, cockroaches running all over the place, furniture turned upside down, whatever, clothes everywhere. And I'm just like, and it took
deplorable.
Thank you.
Deplorable.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So my trainer said, hey, go next door and talk to them, see if they had. So I knocked on the door next door, and this young lady answered, and she said, please come in. And it was immaculate. The place was immaculate. And I went like, I stepped back. I said, excuse me. I stepped back out of the door, and I looked over to this side. And then I came back over to this side, and I went like, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope.
Oh my gosh. I can't even, I hate that stuff. I that's the one thing about this job I just have a hard time with, is the bugs and all that stuff. So you get out there, you work in the streets.
Yes.
And as you're hitting, did you stay Northwest predominantly for your entire uniform career?
Yes.
And how do they work it there? Do you guys have like a bid board, or how do you change from one division?
I wanted to go. So early on, for some reason, during training, I work deep nights. So you learn the aspect of deep nights. You have the bars, you have the red light district, you have areas where lots of apartments, and then you have other apartments that are filled. My area actually had where a lot of the stewardess from Dallas Love Field, which is an airport in Dallas, where they would stay. So that was kind of a more upgraded type. But it's a great place to learn, because you never know what you're going to get. Now, to get back to what you were saying which I just lost. What'd you say?
Oh, I was asking you. My question
I just went off and got lost.
No, my question is that how do you guys, did you do predominantly all of your career in Northwest?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Then how do you guys switch from one? I mean, if you did it all up there, how do you guys go? Let's say you wanted to go work.
Right.
What is it?
Right.
What's that bad spot? Oak Cliff.
Right. Yeah. So from that point, you have an opportunity to, once you're off training, you will stay in that area. If you want to move to a different division, what we call our section, remember our city's divided into 7 sections. So if you wanted to go to Channel 3, as we would call it, that would be the Southeast. Then basically what would happen you just put a letter in. You tell Sergeant, hey, I'd like to go to Channel 3 and see how that works. And providing you could find somebody that would want to come to Northwest, you could just do a flop. Nowadays, it's a lot harder to do that. But I was pretty good right where I was at. And then I moved to days, started working days. And the interesting thing about days was that when there was an officer chasing somebody on foot, I would go like, oh my God, it's daylight. There he goes. He's running by, which was different than nights.
I'll tell you something, JD. I remember when I went from fourth shift, which was like 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. I remember when I went to days, I was like, oh my gosh, people can actually see me in my police car.
Yeah.
It was a little weird,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
we weren't allowed to have tinted windows back then, but that's since changed a little bit. But
So,
yeah, well,
so to kind of wrap that up is that after I was on days for a while, I put my name down for the horses for the mounted unit, and I knew it would take about 6 years to get there. That was the word on the street. So I put it in right away, and then that way, that gave me the opportunity to work on the streets and learn things, because you just don't want to jump into a specialized unit without having any experience on the street.
Of course.
It doesn't work for either one.
Right.
So I was very fortunate that by about the time of 6 years, I ended up on horses.
Was that a really hard position to get into, considering you were young, or was that like one of those that historically they'd almost have older officers get in there? Or
That's funny you say that, because now, as I look back, I look at like I was still in that go get 'em mode, and I would try to. I mean, it'd be like you don't answer the type of calls that you're used to answering calls. You're doing a lot of public relations, a lot of everyone wants to come pet the horses, everyone wants to come see you, but we did have areas that we would have to go to and work as a patrol officer. So I had a great partner, Ella Beeman, shout out to her.
all right.
But I will tell you that, man, I tried to do everything I could to kind of keep that mentality of patrol. And we would be in a neighborhood for high visibility. We were able to walk around, community relations, kids come up, and we had a call about a minor disturbance, nothing big, at some ladies at this house. It was in a neighborhood. So I said, well, let's go take that. She's like, okay. So we go. So there's an awning before you get to our door. So I said, let's just answer the call. So we go up, and I said, watch it. So I go up underneath the awning, and I lean down, and I knock on the door, and she opens the door. And the first thing she sees is this horse. And I said, yes, my partner here are here to answer your call. You're having something going on? And she's like, you're on a horse. I go, we are in Texas. Yeah. And that right there just kind of, just softens everything.
Yeah.
And she started laughing, right? And
You're
so she starts talking, and we start talking about things, and we're like, okay, and then my partner and I chased a stolen car on horseback, which it was like, it's awesome.
That would be something.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, we stayed on the grass because we were in the projects. So the car was going on the road, but if we stayed on the grass, we were able to always keep eyes on them. Yeah. And I remember that they stopped. And when they stopped, they got out and they went to go meet their group, and they were hanging out with. Well, we kind of moved in. And as we moved in, my partner, Ella, she was great, man. The guy saw us and started to get back in, was like slow walking towards the car. And when we realized that he was getting ready to jet, right, we picked the speed up a little bit. And he was watching, like, what are they doing, right? And then she kind of like ducked, what do you call it, fishtailed her horse and pinned him in between the door and the frame of the car. And she said, were you going someplace? And I just looked at her, I go, no.
Yeah. I mean, I bet people sometimes would almost stop in their tracks when they see you come in the complex, you know, on horseback. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So, and I think I heard something. How would you fill out your reports? Was there something
yeah. So my reports were always good. So if I had to do a report or make an arrest, I would put in my name, and then I would put in Officer Wild Bill. Wild Bill was my horse. So, I would try it, and it just, sometimes they took it, sometimes they didn't, but it was just thought of it because, and if I may, I know this is a negotiation, but horses are very dear to me. I learned so much from them personally, and just great place. But I used to have a red light where cars downtown would run a red light. So if they ran the red light where I was at, I could stand there. If they ran the red light, they would go half a block and they would be at the back end because the red light here and the red light here were coincide. So red light, they run it. Red light here, they're at the end of the pack. Yeah. So we would walk up on our horse and I would get right next to their car window and I would like knock on their, like knock, knock, knock. I go, they'd roll the window. I said, yeah, my horse and I, Officer Wild Bill would like to talk to you about the red light you just ran. Do you have your driver's license, sir?
Yeah.
God, man, I miss those days.
Yeah. Good times. And times have changed dramatically since when you started to today anyway. So it's not even the same world. So back then somebody comes to you and they ask you if you're interested in going to SWAT. Is that how that started?
So I was going through some changes personally, and I decided that, everyone, the first rule of thumb is that when people go through what is the word I want to say? Personal issues or anything like that. They think maybe a change, change would be good. So I saw my sergeant and I saw a sergeant for SWAT. And I asked him, I said, hey, I hear through the grapevine you guys are looking for some people. I said, I'd be interested in trying out. And to make a long story short, he said, yeah. He goes, just come see us on Sunday. And I said, okay, fine. So I came and sat down. I met the whole team that was in I was applying for, the team to work with. They answered a lot of questions. That was on a Thursday. And then on Sunday, basically, the sergeant I was talking to, he called me and he just said, hey, welcome to SWAT. And the first words out of my mouth were, yeah. I said, I'm good with that. I said, I haven't told my horse yet. I said, I think he's going to be upset about this. That was a huge deal because I'm like,
yeah.
He and I,
and probably a little sad too for you.
Yeah, I tell the story that he never bit me, lunged at me or anything, and he's thrown me off a couple times, but that was my fault. But that last week when we were working, he kicked me, and I just went, I'm not even gonna worry about it. I get it.
Yeah,
you're upset.
Just out of curiosity, when you were, let's say that they retire a horse, and if it was your horse, do you get to keep it or?
Okay, so. Yes, now we're going back to the early 90s.
Right.
So what the theory is that if the horse was going to be retired, then the rider the first person is the owner, or the one that donated it.
Okay.
So a lot of our horses are donated, so they would have the first of getting him back. Yeah. If they didn't want him, then the rider would have the opportunity. If the rider didn't want him, then somebody in mounted could snag him.
Oh, okay.
And then if nobody in mounted, then that was the key where they would auction him off. And so when I left, he gets a new rider because he's a young horse. So Wild Bill got a new rider, and when they decided to retire Wild Bill, I got word of it, and I said, okay. The first one that they had to go through was the owner, and the owner wanted him back.
Oh, okay.
The person that donated. The rider was like, no. He goes, you can have it. I was already making plans. It was like,
right.
I just got to make sure that first one goes through because I already knew after that I had him. And the owner, that was a rough time. So
yeah, of course. So you get on SWAT and you're one of the, kind of describe Dallas SWAT for the listeners, because your team, it's not completely unique, but it is very unique in the world of SWAT teams across this country. Yes. Most SWAT teams are part-time. Yes. Tulsa's is part-time. I don't know about Oklahoma City. I think they're part-time. Mm-hmm. So explain to people, because you have a full-time team, and what is that? What other cities have that, or how many of them are there out there?
I believe Jacksonville, Florida has a full-time team, and I think Las Vegas has a full-time team. Obviously,
Probably LA and New York, I'm
LA.
guessing.
Thank you, LA.
Okay.
And the other one is Arizona.
Oh, all right. Like Phoenix?
Phoenix, Arizona had a full-time team. There's not a lot in the country, but I believe those are the ones, at least that I knew. They may have changed. Well, since 1990 to now, yeah, a
Right.
lot's changed. But
Right.
being a full-time team is basically, for our listeners or watching, basically a full-time team is a team will go in as a group. They work. They do their work based on what assignments are given that day. So they may not have an assignment that day, but they will have to do training. If they're not doing training, they're running operations. If they're not running operations or not training, then they're working on operations, getting all the information they need to make house calls. So
Yeah.
we're constantly, we get trained from hostage rescue to dignitary protection, to some civil unrest, to officer assist, where you've got multiple things going on. So so we're always a full-time team.
Yeah, and you're also, and I may be completely wrong here, JD, but you're one of the, I would guess you're one of the few people that has done as many positions on the team that you have. I would think that not everybody's going to be a negotiator, so
True,
or a sniper. So
the concept, if you kind of think about this and breaking it down, is we have 4 teams. The 4 teams, each team has 10 members. So they rotate by teams. Let's say that we have the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. So when the 10s are up, those guys will be running through the door on whatever the operation is, or those guys are going to take the dignitary protection. Those guys are going to be the top dogs for that week. The secondary, which are their sister squad, which would be the 20s. The 20s have 10 guys. They will come in and support them. Now, the 10s, I know it's confusing. The 10s may need some extra manpower, so they'll use some of the 20s. The 30s will supplement the 20s. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Right.
And the 40s are completely out. They're off.
They're out for right now. All right. Because they're kind of on their off time. So that doesn't mean they're not training. It doesn't mean they don't have assignments. It just means that they're not active in the warrants or anything that's going on. They've got time to do whatever they need to do. So as it rotates around, all the teams are getting a piece of the pie. Now, back in I believe the late 60s, early 70s, our forefathers of SWAT looked ahead and said, we want to have a full team of 10 people to handle anything that we can handle on our own. So in Dallas, all operators are trained in hostage rescue, warrant services, dignitary protection, and so on and so on. However, if they're not being used that day and they are using a support team, they're going to be a support team to come and help the other 2 teams that are running the operation. They will now have what we call secondary roles, or sometimes 3 roles. So I'll use myself for example. I was for SWAT purposes, I was a breacher, meaning slamming the door. I'd go in and slam the door, open it up for the guy, for the rest of the guys to go in. And that was my main function. We used to call it a one-hit wonder. You want to be a one-hit wonder because if you could open that door on the first slam, then guys want you, because every time that you're done after that, you're delaying that response of being the surprise, right? So you want to be a one-hit wonder. But in the meantime, when we're not operating in that, I got to find something to do. So I was asked to be a sniper. So those were the 2 roles that I had. Entry, I would be the slammer, or support in the back while the guys were going in. I would be in the back because once you drop the slammer, then you've got to fill in. Well, by the time you drop the slammer, everyone else is already inside. Does that make sense?
It does, and I would assume that considering you only had that number of people in a city the size of Dallas, because
Yes.
Dallas is what, the fourth largest city in the country, maybe, or what is it?
We're at 1 point, if I remember, 1.5
Yeah.
that live in the limits, and then another 1.3 that come in on days of work, Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday, we got about 3 million.
Yeah, and so you're busy. That's you
Yes.
got to be. There's like a constant flow of work. There's probably
Yes.
just a huge chart on the wall of what's happening or what's coming up in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So you're doing that, and then while you're doing that, that's when somebody comes to you, and they basically thought you had the aptitude, or that you would be a good fit for sniper position.
Yes.
And do you transition to that to where that's pretty much full time? What you're doing is the sniper position.
No. You got to still remember, I'm still active. On the time that my team is up, we're running
Right.
and gunning through the doors.
Okay.
When my
gotcha.
team isn't,
Yeah.
and the other team is, then that's when I would turn into a sniper or a support, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
I know it's confusing.
No, but as I'm listening to you, I'm just sitting there thinking, JD, that I'm like, man, just to keep up on your craft as a sniper, man, you just have to have 100% dedication. There, 125% dedication for all of it. I mean, you can't just focus on any one area. You've got to be good at all of it, and that's
you would be surprised what the kids that we have. And I'm sorry to call them kids, but the guys that are working right now, you would be surprised at the talent that they have, from flying drones, being a negotiator, being an energetic breacher, meaning you're dealing with explosives, and being entry. So you will have 10 guys, and each of them may have 3 or 4 talents that they have. And so,
wow, I forgot about explosive breaching. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have less.
So you're like a bomb tech on top of it.
Yeah. So you have all these guys that now everyone finds their niche, and they're likely to be more stronger in this. So let's say you and I were on the same team. You may, like a rope master, you may be a repel master. While you and I are on the same team, you're repelling. So I can repel down a rope easy, but I don't know how to tie the ropes as well as you do. So I will look at you and say, tie my rope, and I can repel down, or you will teach me how to do it, and I will do the best I can. So for the most part, you're the rope master of our team. So therefore, it's your job to make sure that we're safeguarded anytime that we need to repel.
Right. And then so somebody came to you because obviously you are somebody that picks it up pretty quick, and people want you. And so they saw that you had an aptitude potentially to be a crisis negotiator. And honestly, just to remind the listener here, the SWAT team, we don't call our team the SWAT team. That's special operations team. We have to be different here for some reason, but it's essentially a SWAT team. And I'm no longer on the SWAT team anymore. I did the negotiating for like 10 and a half years, but the SWAT team is who the police call when the police need the police. Well,
I want to say yes, but the theory is, and this is a way that I go back to my dad again. My mom was worried about me being on the SWAT team. My dad is good at it, man. He said, "Dear, let me explain something." I didn't even say anything. This is my dad speaking, right? And basically, she's like, "I'm worried he's going to get hurt." And he goes, "Let me tell you about something." He goes, "Our boy is in a group. When the officers get into issues, there are things that they're trained to do, and they have certain limits, not because they don't know. It's just they have certain resources that they cap out on, if that makes sense, right?"
Yeah.
When our son is showing up, he is showing up with 40 other guys that are highly trained and have every type of weapon known to man quote, joke, right?
Right.
And he said, he's fine.
Yeah.
And that's the whole concept. That I'm a big patrol guy, believing that patrol is the backbone of any department. Those
Agreed.
guys go to a robbery. When they go to the robbery, they have to use what basic or even advanced tools they have to try to deal with it. The only reason why they're calling us is because we have more of it and we have the more training. So
Good point. Good point. And so you get there and they see an aptitude for you to possibly be a negotiator.
Yes.
And that's and you still are going to be responsible potentially for any of the other jobs that
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
But not everybody probably is considered negotiator aptitude, I would guess. All right, so you get in there, and as you get into to become a negotiator, explain to people that process of becoming a negotiator.
So I was approached by two of the senior guys, and they asked me if I'd be interested in it. And usually back in my time, when someone comes up and says, hey, we've kind of noticed you around the other guys, we've noticed, and we think that you have the temperament and the skills to possibly be a negotiator. Would you be interested? So to me, during my time, that was the time of saying, yes, sir, I do. Whether I wanted to do it or not, you don't say anything. I just went, yes, sir. Whatever you need for the team, sir, I'm here. Right. So that was my answer. I just said, okay, point me, tell me what I need to do. So they were happy about that. And then I started my training, and that was in like 2000, I think. About 2000. Yeah. I came to SWAT in 1993.
Yeah.
And I started negotiating in about 2000.
And a negotiator, just explain to people the importance of that. Well, I'm gonna say that probably more than half, if not most, of these situations are resolved if it gets to the point where a negotiator can start communicating with somebody. That most of them are resolved via negotiations. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be far. What's the word I want to use? I was always in the belief that about 97% of all barricaded people can be solved through negotiations.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say that the probably the worst of the worst were the ones that always concerned me were non-responders.
Sure.
If you get them to talk to you, then I think that it's probably 95% of the time you get them to come out. If you get them to at least talk to you. So all right, good. I just want to make sure that I'm not off. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point.
No, not at all.
But so at that point, you guys are doing this. You're learning how to be a negotiator. When did any and I know you don't remember your first negotiation, but any of the negotiations really stand out to you? Kind of pivotal moments for you in that?
The ones I lost.
Yeah.
So those are a little rough. I don't like losing. It doesn't mean I don't understand losing. I just those would be the ones.
Yeah, and I think the number I'd heard you say it was like 6. Something along
Between
those lines.
I think 5 or 6. There's one I can't remember, but I would probably say 5 or 6. Yeah, my first one, my true first one, my first two to be honest, was filmed for A&E during SWAT, the TV show. Those are the first two that I lost. And so
was there well, let me ask you a little bit. I'm just curious real quick. Dallas SWAT, that television show.
Yes, sir.
I remember it very well. I think that was previous to when I don't know if I was on the SWAT team or not. What years were they there?
Around 2015, 16, maybe.
Okay, then I probably was on the SWAT team. So what was that experience like? Well, first of all, were you a little bit surprised that Dallas said, "Yeah, sure, come on, we'll have a television show to be able to film all this"?
Here's actually what I heard through the grapevine is that um, basically, the A&E went to the places where they already had their foot in the door from 48 hours.
Yeah.
So they would go to Kansas City, they would go to Dallas, they would go to a couple of other places where they already had their foot in the door for that. So that's how
Okay.
they were able
That
to get in so quick.
that makes great sense. How were they received from your team?
So they came in and they said they gathered us all together and they asked us if out of all of us that were there, they said, "Is there anybody that would be interested in being featured in it?" And a couple of the people said yay, nay, and so then they did a short, I don't want to say interview, but they did a short, tell us about yourself, tell us about what, kind of stuff. So I guess it was kind of an interview. And then they picked the people that they wanted. And I think, now I look back at it is, if you're going to do a show like that, I would think that you want to have that, I'm using a big word here, versatility in guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's exactly what they got.
No, I think they did. I think
Yeah.
I think personally, for me, I really enjoyed Dallas, probably the number one. And I think I want to say that Detroit was on there. That sounds like
Yes.
that.
Yep.
That might've
Yep.
been. Yeah.
Yep.
But I thought it was interesting just to get an inside, almost like a virtual ride along. It's like the same thing.
Sure.
Them following us on the first 48.
Sure.
And I don't know overall, what was your experience with it? And would you characterize it as a good experience all in all, at least with the public relations and so forth?
Well, I think, it does give an insight on what people do. The thing I liked about it was when they said that, okay, would like for you to do this, and do you mind if we follow it? So it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve. Anytime you're in something new, you want to jump in and do all of it. And now I look back and I think there's a couple of things I may have changed, and I'll explain that why.
Okay.
But some of the guys were more open about their private lives versus others. There were certain rules that I started thinking about, or certain things I started thinking about was like, they want to film. They did it like an episode where I had lost my dog. Actually, where's it? He's behind me.
Oh yeah, I see.
The boy to the right, this big guy.
Yep.
Yeah, that was Ranger. Yeah, that was my boy, and I lost him, and it killed me. And they wanted to. Actually, sorry, this picture here. There's a lady did this for me, and you can't read the inscription down at the bottom, but she hand did this from a photo.
Wow.
And that was her gift to me, and like I almost cried.
Yeah.
Wow. So
That's
it hangs
super
up.
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was going someplace. So they wanted to film me going to the shelter to see if there was to be another dog I would like. And then I started thinking about, they said, yeah, we'll follow you and we'll just film you as you're driving. I'm like, that's it. We're going to change it around. I am going to drive your car, and you can film me out of my car, because I didn't want people getting my license plate.
Oh yeah, good thinking.
On the car of my car, right? So
I didn't think about that.
Right. Well, this is stuff I've learned, right? So
Yeah.
if you look behind me, this is a brick wall, right?
Yep.
So I had moved, and we were in a house that had, or we were in a loft. So I lived in lofts. So I'm in a loft here. So at this time. So I moved to another loft, and some guy saw me on the street and he goes, "Hey, Jay, how's it going?" He goes, "Hey, I noticed between last episode or last season, this season, you moved into a new house or a new place because you don't have the brick anymore." And I'm like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah.
So on one of the seasons, I told the producers, I said, hey, what I want to do is just to throw people off is, creepy. I see someone saying creepy.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do is say, okay, fine. I said, two can play this game. So I told them that on the next one, I said, you guys are going to follow me to a house in Richville, meaning in here in Dallas, it's Highland Park or University Park, where all the mansions are. And so I said, you see where I'm going with this. So I was going to have them film me, go up, park the cruiser in front of this mansion and say,
there you go.
I said, it's been a hard day. I'm just going to go inside. And see.
Yeah.
And then
I'll tell you what.
Film me going to the door and then cut it off.
Yeah. I had a couple of instances, and it wasn't really because of the television show, but I can remember one time I was down talking to a killer at the jail, and he goes, hey, I know, I know who you are. I've seen you drop your daughter off at school. And I said, well, I think you're mistaken, because I don't have a kid and I don't live in Tulsa. So, of course he was right, but and then it was a little bit one of those where I just I'm deflecting this big time. And there was another time I can remember being in a house where a murder had happened. And I kind of returned to this house where this poor kid got killed. And one of the guys that was there was like, man, I know you, you're my neighbor. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. Where do you live? And he goes, yeah, you're my neighbor. You live about 4 houses down from me. And I'm like, no, I don't live in Tulsa. And he's like, yeah, you do. And then and I'm like, all right, then let's keep that on the down low, buddy. But yeah.
And you know what's really interesting about this is that I was in, of all places, I was in Las Vegas and once in Puerto Rico.
This. Love this story.
I told you this, right? So the one in Las Vegas, I had my knee reconstructed. I had broken it, so I had pins in it. But I was in a wheelchair, and the guys were inside. They were gambling in Las Vegas, and I was saying it was like 2:00 in the morning, right? So I had my cigar, and I had a beard, because back then you couldn't have beards at work. So I'm normally clean shaven and that, but I was off for a large amount of time. So I grew this long beard, got this hat on, and I'm smoking the cigar. I'm in my wheelchair on the side of the road, and some guy walks by me, and as he walks by me, he stops and he turns around and he goes like, "You're JD." And I went, "Holy." I go, "Are you serious?" I go, "Are you serious?" I go, "You got to be a cop." He goes, "No." He goes, I watch SWAT all the time." He goes, "I know you." And I'm like, God. I go like, I know. That's impressive. That was impressive.
It is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That some
Puerto
people
Rico,
that I hadn't heard this one. What's the deal in Puerto Rico?
I'm in Puerto Rico, same setup, but I'm on vacation and I like to go to Puerto Rico. So we're at a gambling table, and it's 1:00 in the morning. I'm smoking a cigar again. Not that I smoke that much. Just when you're on vacation, kind of relax. Right? So I'm smoking the cigar, and this guy leans over to me and he goes, "That's a funny place for you to be here, isn't it, JD?" And I looked over. I go like, "Yeah." I just went like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm crazy. A cop out of so and so." He goes, I've seen you," and I went like, "Damn, you people are good."
Yeah, but it's always positive.
Oh yeah, it is, because you could show me a picture of somebody that's wanted, and I could look at it in my hand. I say, "Okay, today it's in the morning." I put it in the hood of the car. I go. That guy could walk right by me, and I'd miss him.
Yeah. I know Rick Duggan and Scott Sayers from Dallas Homicide.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they don't. It's always positive. It's just. We were out eating, and the three of us were eating, and actually we had a couple of more. Summer Benton was with us, so the four of us, all of us, we were all. She's from Atlanta. We were eating in San Antonio, and the looks we were getting, believe me, it was fun. But nevertheless, so you guys are doing this. So to explain to people a little bit about just crisis negotiating. And well, actually, somebody had asked a question. I want to make sure I answer this because it was a good question. As a civilian, can you be a negotiator? You can't be on like Dallas or Tulsa. I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, JD, because you've been all over the country. I would assume that there's probably jurisdictions that just doesn't have the money, and
Absolutely.
they probably do utilize like social workers or people like that.
Yes.
Maybe not to negotiate, but maybe to help with that. I
Yes,
don't know. Maybe they
absolutely.
do negotiate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you're in a smaller town, you use the resources that you have. And if you got somebody that's been through the training, that understands it and does that,
Mhm.
sure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in a small town,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
The guys, um, the biggest thing that a takeaway from negotiation and SWAT, and I tell people that are small town guys, is I would look at them and go like, "You're a small town, you're part time." I said, "What's the difference between you and I, you and my team?" "Well, you guys get this and this and this." Yeah, but the public doesn't look at you like that. When you're calling the team, the SWAT team, to come out and do things, they're expecting you to be able to handle this. So you have to pull all your resources to try to meet that demand.
Right.
And if I've got a counselor or a psychiatrist and I'm in a small town, it's like, and they've got the knowledge. Oh yeah, I might try and get them some education to how you do it for law enforcement, but yeah.
Yeah. So I
That'd
guess
be
there is
my
possibilities. Absolutely. So tell people kind of the history of crisis negotiating, when it started, and essentially, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I don't,
no. So
but basically,
negotiations. So you have a couple of people. I think it was Carl Rogers, if I'm not mistaken. Now, bear with me on this. Carl Rogers was a psychiatrist. He had another running buddy with him. And those guys kind of developed the term of active listening. So that was kind of like in the 1950s, late 50s. And then, as that's going through, now you get to Frank and Harvey from New York. I
yeah,
think those guys perfected that active listening skill into what we know now as hostage crisis negotiation. And those guys kind of took
yeah,
the ball and ran with it. So they took a piece, in my belief, they took a piece of what Carl Rogers, I wish I could remember the other guy's name, Carl Rogers, what they did as learning a communication style. And then our guys, Frank and Harvey, they took it from there and ran with it in this direction, which is where we're at today.
yeah. I think that happened in 1972 in New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And
Somewhere
it was
back
supposed
then.
to, if I'm not mistaken, it happened after the Munich hostages there.
Yeah, and actually, that Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino, that's a true story, and that was one of the first. It was close to being one of the first
Mhm.
situations where they actually had somebody that was acting like a negotiator, I believe. But
Yeah.
so what is
Richard
crisis? And
Farson. Richard Farson is the
okay,
other
yeah,
guy with Carl
yeah.
Rogers. Go ahead. I'm
So
sorry.
what are the what is active listening,
So
and
active
what
listening.
and kind of the role of a negotiator?
Okay, so there's things in learning to be a negotiator. Is number one. I tell people you got to have a lot of patience. So bear with me for a second. If you go back to mounted days, in my horse days, I've got a 1,500-pound animal in between my legs. No pun intended. Uh, but yeah, but you have this giant horse, and he has its own mind, and you have to be able to learn to communicate with him through using cues and training, and also being able to have the patience. And that is the strong point of us as negotiators, is the ability to communicate and the ability to have the patience to understand what's being said. And those, I think, are strong value points that we have to have. And being able to have empathy. Empathy is a huge thing. It's hard for some people to have empathy. You have sympathy, where sympathy is you may relate to someone who's passed away versus, no, I just lost my dad last week. So I'm feeling what you're feeling. May not be the same, but you are feeling.
Yeah.
And so to that, as far as active listening, it's a set of skills that you learn to communicate with people. And when you learn to communicate with people in crisis, it's a very good way to build rapport, because you have to have that rapport in order to go any further, if that makes sense. You and I have to be able to have a conversation, right? What do they tell you when you're on the street? Let's go back to patrol. What do they tell you when it's better to talk somebody into handcuffs than to fight them and put in handcuffs? So
That's
what
right.
you're trying to do is you're trying to find that rapport, and you're using reasoning, right? In order to accomplish a certain task.
Yeah, to influence.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. And so these skills, we always spent. I just went through a peer-to-peer training.
Sure.
And I hadn't been a negotiator in a long time, but it was fun because we were doing some active listening and stuff. And I happened to mention to the group, I was like, listen, just you got to practice the single skills. Everybody thinks that they're a great communicator when they get to the academy, and then, oh man, they realize that they're really not. And it's not about, what's the one thing that we don't want to do as a negotiator is problem solve.
Right.
We're there to basically just kind of talk or just to listen, really, and let them.
So there's one thing that that we learn from our training is about call it an empowerment. So it generally works with in the case of suicidal people. So we always remember that suicidal people are not dumb. They're going through a rough time, or mentally they're going through a rough time. And so it's being able to empower them to make better decisions. Because when you're reacting to what's in your stomach, and I always say this wrong, so you're going to have to correct me here. The visceral, you're thinking with your gut. You're thinking down here. Mm-hmm. And we need to be up here, right? So when you're up here, the cognitive part of thinking. So when you're making decisions, and this is the private, right? We all have made mistakes. Have you ever made a mistake?
Oh my gosh, I probably made one today. Yeah.
So when you're dealing with someone that's in a crisis, is it feasible to look at them and say, do you think this might be a mistake today? Right? Because I'm trying to get them to think from down here in their gut to up here. And if we can get them from here to here, now we're making progress. Because whatever whatever the issue is, we're trying to get them to start that motor, because they're stuck. It's just the wheels are winning. The wheels are spinning, but they're not moving.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting, and it's really. Listen, I think that I've heard you say this before. It's basically just slowing everything down, and slowing things down. Let's reevaluate. Let's kind of think of what we're going to do here, and each position on a negotiation team. I know we used to say it's the secondary position. It's not necessarily the guy on the phone. It's the secondary that's really the hardest position.
Oh, absolutely.
Generally, you're more experienced person, and the primary guy is the guy on the phone, which I prefer. Personally, I prefer to be that. I prefer to be the one on the phone. It was just
sure.
It was one of the things that I enjoyed doing the most. But that and the ops stuff. So that's another thing about Dallas that's a little bit, at least kind of different, I'd say, is that you guys usually only have the two negotiators, right? Kind of the primary and the secondary.
Yes. So part of our job as negotiators on each team has two negotiators. Remember, there's 4 teams. So we have 8 negotiators. You have a primary and secondary on each team. And those guys work hand in hand. So if you and I are in the 10s, or what we call the 810s, you and I are running through the door. Someone from the 830s may pick up and be the negotiators. They'll change their hats and go like, okay, now I'm a negotiator and he's my secondary. and then they were working. But to have that work for you is a huge deal for us in making those changes.
Now, you've been in SWAT since 2000, or I mean, actually, as a negotiator, rather, just negotiating.
Right.
And in that time frame for you, what have you seen that has changed in humanity, in just dealing with the common? Is it pretty consistent over the years? When somebody's in crisis, they're in crisis, or is it, we don't communicate near as effective as, in my opinion, just the I think that the younger people today, they just don't communicate like we did when I had a phone cord on our phone when I was growing up. It was 100 foot long, and my parents were yelling at me to get off the phone. Enough.
Did you have a three-way?
Yes, all of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
For those that don't know, or party line. For those
Yes.
that don't know what that is, that would mean that he and I would be on a conversation on the old, you're by the phone with the cord, but yet Bobby could call in and say, "Hey guys, I'm trying to make a phone call," because you had a party line. So that means he and I had to hang up our phone so that Bobby could make a phone call. And Bobby could live 10 doors down the street.
Because one of the things that I've actually, before I left the team, I was texting a negotiation, honestly. And that's what really got, that's what really got us onto the phone to talk, because he wasn't answering the phone. So are you, my point is, and my question is what have you seen that's changed in just humanity from back when you used to negotiate back then to today?
Okay. So I'll try and explain this fairly quickly, is that departments as a whole have learned communication. And the reason why I say that is because our young officers that are out there are learning that de-escalation. And the reason why I look at that is because I know that back in the day, the negotiators would help train classes on de-escalation and using active listening skills. So what that means is, when you have a jumper now, you're just not calling a negotiator, or you're not calling the SWAT team or anything like that. Patrol officers are truly learning how to communicate in that time of learning. And the reason we know that is because our call rate for SWAT has dropped.
Yeah.
And that is because our kids now are learning how to do a better job. Doesn't mean they're doing it perfect. It's just they're trying, and they're trying to get it. There's some technicalities that may hamper them, but I think they're doing a better job than we were back then as a young officer.
Completely agree with you. Absolutely agree. They spend a tremendous, just for the public that's listening to this, they invest a ton of money and time and training into us being able to just communicate with people that suffer from mental illness to whatever. And it does, you're absolutely right. It's decreased the call load dramatically. Yeah, absolutely. So what are you guys looking for when it comes to, let's say somebody that's watching this today, that they're like, I really wanted to, when I watched Waco, literally, when I watched that, I already wanted to be a cop. I actually wanted to be a homicide detective. But when I watched that, I was like, man, I really want to be a crisis negotiator. That was another thing that from that event. What is it for the person that's aspiring to be a police officer that might want to do this one day? What are you guys looking for, and how do they get there?
So, fortunately and unfortunately, this is generally a hot topic for negotiators across the country. Is that when you come to Dallas SWAT, you are an operator. You learn, as we talked about, we learned running through the door, the running and gunning, the hostage rescue. You learn all that. But there will be a time when a younger officer, or a young SWAT guy, someone's going to approach him and say, "You're going to be our negotiator." It's not. There's a twofold for that. So I can argue it and I can defend it, if that makes sense. Because when we negotiate, as in SWAT, we negotiate with all the compassion and empathy that a typical negotiating team would have. However, we negotiate also with SWAT in mind. So I use this example is that if I'm talking to Bobby and I say, hey, Bobby, and he's inside, I've got no reaction, no anything. And I say, hey, Bobby, I know this is a really scary time for all of us, right? Nobody wants to get hurt. But man, just give me a light to let me know that you can at least hear me. And that's all I'm asking, right? So when that light comes on, then what have I done? Well, I've earned a little trust through him, but now we've also confirmed that somebody's inside. We have an idea of what room they may be in, and we've been able to work a couple of other options that we have in an emergency, not that we're going to do, so that we have people that our SWAT guys are in tune with this. So when we negotiate in the favor of SWAT.
Yeah.
And if you were an operator, I would be talking to you and saying, hey, Bobby, here's the deal. When you walk outside, one of the best guys on SWAT named Jason's going to be right there to pick you up. And I'm going to tell him that you're coming out, and I'm going to tell him that you're talking with me on the phone. And he's the only one that's going to talk to you. And he's going to pick you up just take care of you. You got to trust me, because I wouldn't give you to anybody else, right? So that when Bobby's walking out, Jason's going to be on the phone saying, hey, you're talking to JD. JD and I have already talked. I know you're talking to him, man. Let him know that you see me. Let him know everything's okay. Because they have to have that compassion, and they have to have that trust. And then your job is to make sure to fulfill it by placing them on the ground, handcuffing them, and doing everything smoothly. There's no jumping. There's no anything. Maybe back in the day, I mean, think about us when you and I, when we were younger, we were doing felony traffic stops. We just run up to the car, yank them out, and throw them on the ground and handcuff them. Yeah. Where nowadays they're more slow back. Let's slow down. Try to communicate with them. Try to get them to come back to us. Same concept.
Right.
Did that answer?
Right. No, it does. It does. And so just a few more things real quick. I know you're a huge advocate for like the psychological aspect of psychological services for police officers and stuff like that. If you wanted to make any kind of comment on that in reference to, don't be hesitant to seek out, kind of we get a lot of JPEG files in our brains throughout a career.
Sure.
And I know that you're an advocate for that.
Yes, huge advocate. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because me, myself, I've seen a lot, I've been through a lot. And it's not always about pulling a trigger or something like that. It's we see a lot of things, and we have to do things sometimes that normally we wouldn't think we'd end up doing. So I would tell you, if you think that there's a slightest chance that you might want to talk to somebody, go do it. I mean, what's it going to do? Hell, excuse me. I will tell you that, I have my own counselor, like on a speed dial. If something's bothering me, I take care of it, because when I retire, which I will hopefully be retiring soon, I want to make sure that I have a good life. I don't want these demons crossing over my head. I'll tell you a short example of it. Do we have time?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I would tell you that I went to counseling because I just knew something was off. And so I go to counseling, and the lady that I see, she's a great lady. And she's like, okay, what's going on? I said, well, this and this and this. And she's okay. And I said, I'm trying. She goes, let me explain something to you, JD. And she was very kind and very complimentary. And I'm very humbled by what she was saying. She says, you are in a class that you don't realize, and you know more about negotiations in implementing them. And I said, man, she reeled me in because I went like, oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you. She goes, but you don't know shit about how to talk to somebody at home. She goes, you are the worst communicator at home. And I just looked at her and went like, teach me. Because, work is one thing, home is another.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to find that balance and be able to regulate yourself. If I want to say that, regulate. We all go through issues. We all go through family problems. We all go through everything else. Some of it's work. Some of it's just personal. Some of it's, whatever. I tell people right off the bat, usually if I'm doing a presentation, that's something that can be a little emotional. I'm a crybaby. I don't know why. I just cry. That's just my makeup. But I will tell you, take care of yourself.
Yeah. Good advice. Really good advice. And I'm going to tell you firsthand, I've hung out with him, and he's kind of this guy cares about people, and that's something special. You have hit your 40-year mark, right? Did you
Yes,
hit it?
sir. Yes, sir.
So you've hit goal number 1. You had a
Yes.
second goal to be in the top 10 in seniority. Have you made it?
Yes, I'm number 5. Number
Whoa.
6. Number 6.
Okay.
6.
And that's what you were waiting on.
Yeah, I was telling actually it was one of my classmates. It was number 5, and I'm sorry, she was number 6, and I was number 7. And I was telling one of the top 5. I said, "Hey, look, I'm trying to move up." I said, "I'm not going to make it beyond 5 because those guys are like in their, like, okay, hold on, guys, right? The number 1 guy has like 57 years on the department.
What?
Yeah,
Wow,
crazy guy, and."
What's he doing?
Every time I see him, I go, "Number 1, how you doing?"
What's he doing for the department?
He's actually a captain, and
Okay.
he has a routine down. He does his thing, and then the second one behind him is a patrol officer. He's got 53, 52 years on, and then the rest go into the high 40s, and then I come struggling on. But I told one of the guys in the upper 5, I said, "Hey, Chief," because he's a chief. I said, I need for you to leave so that I can move up one. I have a certain goal. And I said, I'd hate for you to be walking to your car one day and you're like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, so, he's like, I'm not going over, like, dang. So, yes, I've made it to number 6. So, yes, I have reached the top 10.
So, okay, retirement is on the horizon for you,
Yes.
probably. And then finally, what's life going to be like for you, JD? I would assume, this is my assumption, that you're probably going to still teach. JD teaches all over the place. I would assume you're probably going to still teach, but
Yes,
what
sir.
is plans for JD after retirement?
I have a honey-do list that I have to tackle, and I've got a lot of things to a garage that has to be taken care of.
Good.
Yeah, but I'll be all right.
Probably teach. Are you probably going to keep your hands in it a little bit?
Oh yes, absolutely. If anybody wants me to come, I'm there.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're interested in, I mean, he's got probably a catalog of call outs that he could present. I've seen a few of them, and they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all good. And not only that, but you're also teaching. What did you say? Was it a 40-hour class that you teach, or is it 16 hours?
No, I do smaller things. Meaning like I'm good to, if someone's putting on a 40-hour class and they need someone to come in and teach 1 or 2 things. That's generally what I'm pretty good at. Coming in,
gotcha.
making spot checks.
Gotcha. All right. Well, anything else that you want to say finally?
Guys, take care of yourself. I'm telling you.
Officers. One of the things that you'd mentioned too that I thought was really interesting that I hadn't even considered. I hadn't thought about this, or we haven't talked about it on our team, is you guys would volunteer to talk on crisis lines. Is that right?
Yes.
For training. I thought that was brilliant. What a great way.
We I don't want to disclose too much on it. We actually have a policy on it.
Okay.
But I can tell you that anywhere that you can get attached to some type of crisis line, see if you can check into that and see what the rules and regulations are, because we have to protect them as well. While it's great training,
Yeah.
they don't want to lose people calling thinking they're talking to an officer.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
We're
Good
there.
point.
I can tell you when we walk in and at a few places that we go, when we walk in, we strip everything. We're just our counselor on the phone, and you will
Okay.
get anything and everything.
Good stuff, man. I love it. Thanks for your being candid and sharing with us. And I love talking to you anyway, JD. I've had a good time just chatting with you. It's been a while, and
Yes,
I'm going to talk to the president of Western States. It's Bruce Wind. I'm going to message him when we get off of here. And thank you so much. Maybe we can get you another an area of the country that you can, which is probably the only one left. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, first of all, thank you guys very much. This is kind of like the first one for me to do this kind of thing, but I will also tell you that I'm very happy over the fact that your listeners, I hope I've answered any questions that you had or anything like that. And thank you for all the comments.
Yeah. Job well done, JD. 40 plus years of service with the Dallas PD, distinguished service. Just to be a member on the SWAT team as long as he has is there one last thing? I'm just curious.
Sure.
Has anybody been on that team longer than you?
Yeah, that was my third one, and I'm not going to make it.
Really?
The three things I had, yeah. We have one of the guys before me. He had 32 years attached to SWAT, and I'll retire with 31. And I'm like, damn.
Wow. Wow.
That's all right.
Well, congratulations on a very good career. I wish you nothing but the best in the future. We'll probably be in touch sometime down the line. Who knows? I may even see him at a training in the future. Sir. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, episode number 68. It's going to be Amanda Owen, who basically she's the sister of one of my murder cases. Her sister tragically was murdered. It's a no body case. It was the 14th no body case in Oklahoma history. And Amanda's going to come on and she's going to share her story of what all of that was like when her sister came up and disappeared in November of 2002. And it should be a lot of fun. She's a little nervous too, JD, but she's going to be great. And it's easy when people are just, being themselves and so forth, man. Yeah. I really do appreciate you, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe. Thank you so much. I have thoroughly appreciate JD's time here tonight. He's really a legend in the world of crisis negotiating. And I'm glad we got you on here while you were still a cop. That's cool. And so, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, next week, remember, there's 67 other episodes, or there's 67 episodes total. Go to my Detective Jason White YouTube page. I don't get any money for it, but I love for you guys to check out the content. The people that are on there are epic. Check it out. And until then, next week, Amanda Owens, be here. It's going to be a really powerful episode. Until then, take us out, Amanda.